am so thrilled to bring him to the stage, Michael Douglas.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you very, very much. Thank you all for coming out here this afternoon. It's a treat, and for me, it's an honor to be here at the Coolidge Corner Theatre. This is pretty cool. I thought I'd give you just a little bit of an intro to Wonder Boys, which is one of my favorite movies. Thank you. Wonder Boys, and probably some of you already know this, but Wonder Boys was based on a book written by Michael Chabon. And Michael Chabon was from Pittsburgh, went to Carnegie Mellon, University of Pittsburgh, went on to do his graduate degree at the University of California at Irvine. And his master thesis was a book called The Mysteries of Pittsburgh, which turned out to be a huge seller, right? Phenomenally big seller, graduate thesis. And so from there, he had publishing deals and this and that, and he proceeded to work on another book, and he went on and worked on it, and he worked on it, and it was about 1,700 pages long before he realized that he was in deep shit. And he canned it. So 7 years, almost 8 years later, he wrote Wonder Boys. Whipped it off in one time, and that too was a very successful novel. Scott Rudin, our producer, is a very well-known producer, does a lot of stuff, optioned and picked it up. Flash, Steve Kloves, the screenwriter. Steve Kloves wrote and directed a movie called The Fabulous Baker Boys. And thank you, and he had tremendous success, and then had a 7-year gap before he finally realized I desperately need to do a job, and he was a great writer, and so he took on the job of doing the screenwriting of Wonder Boys. Needless, I'm getting a message here. These were both Wonder Boys. Big hits early on. Curtis Hanson, our director, did a movie called L.A. Confidential. Big success. Again, couldn't figure out what he was going to do next, and finally came up to Wonder Boys, and so it's a bunch of Wonder Boys. And it's an interesting phenomenon. It's a lovely movie, great characters. I hope you all enjoy it. And something to think about when I get back. This movie was a bomb. It never succeeded. It was released twice in 2000. Didn't work. Maybe you can tell me why. Don't work hard at it, but enjoy the movie, and I'll see you afterwards. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Hi, everyone. Please welcome Michael Douglas back to the stage.
Thank you. It's like the end of the movie, huh? Take a bow. Take a bow, James!
So, I'd like to start off where we left off in your introduction, where you mentioned that the film was not a success when it first came out. How many of you folks were watching it for the very first time this afternoon? Show of hands. That is quite a few of you. And you liked the picture? Okay. So it's 18 years later. It's found an audience. I mean, there were articles written about it just this week saying how well it still plays. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on what it was like hearing the reception of that film when it first was released, and could you put a finger on why it missed the mark when it first came out?
Well, I'm hoping to get some input.
Yeah.
Today, the picture came out in February, right in the middle of the Academy Awards season for the year before. It was a Paramount film, and I think some of it was lost in terms of the promotion for the upcoming Academy Awards and that part. Saying that, the picture was re-released because everybody, people, Sherry Lansing was at the studio at the time, Scott Rudin, I mentioned, was a producer. We all kind of liked the picture, we were kind of at a loss. Great cast and everything. The picture was re-released in October, right? And it still didn't do well. So the only thing I've come up with was it was a pretty goofy poster. Pretty goofy poster.
The one where it's just your head?
Close up with me with the eyes. It looks somewhere like Michael J. Pollard.
I feel like we've got them all around the building today.
Yeah, well, so that didn't help us. It's a little uncomfortable poster. Kind of looks like it could be a pedophile. It just doesn't quite work. But I don't know, but you would still hope that word of mouth would get it going.
Sure.
And in my 50-year career, that was where I think I've got my finger on the pulse and everything. That was the biggest disappointment and surprise. So I will, if we get later to questions, if anybody else has a thought or suggestion why, we could never figure it out because we all really were proud of the picture and liked it a lot.
This was a different role for you. I mean, you were known for playing these more alpha male sort of characters. Was Grady Tripp a character that you were looking for, or did it just come to you?
It came to me, but I was looking. One of the biggest advantages as an actor I have is that I am a producer. So if I look at my whole career, even as an actor, I read the whole script. There's a lot of actors out there who thumb through to their part, and read their part and see how much they got to do and all of that. I read scripts, and then reading the script, I decide whether I think it's a good movie or not. I look and say, wow, this is exciting, this is sexy, this is fun, whatever the hell it is. But I look at it and say, this is a good movie. Then I go back and I read it again, and I look at it structurally to make sure I wasn't just seduced by the writing, good writing, but then it dramatically or structurally or comedically, it makes sense, right? Then I look at my part. So I'm much more concerned about being involved in a good movie with a small part than I am in a bad movie with a big part. And so I've sort of used that as my barometer, at least when you have choices. When Wonder Boys came to me, I said, "This is great writing." Steve Klovis, it was fabulous writing, very character driven. We were all a little concerned about, well, what's the through line on this? Shooting killing the dog.
Easy. Good dog. James, you shot Dr. Gaskell's dog.
What is this about? I love the tone of the humor.
Yeah.
I had not done much humor in my career. I always liked to try to do humor. I have a great respect for comedy. I think it's really underrated. I don't know why coming Academy times we don't see more comedic performances up there. It's much more difficult comedy than drama. We all appreciate our funny friends, the few that we have, much more than, all the drama we have in the world.
Sure.
So it was important, and yeah, it was a goofy kind of a goofy character, much less together than some of the Gordon Geckos that I had been doing. I was most concerned that I knew that Michael Chabon had taken an actual teacher from Pittsburgh as the role model, and maybe that's when you too much with real stories, and he was a big, burly guy, and so I was nervous in the beginning about not having the sort of, the size and scope that this guy had. Wasn't so worried about the pot smoking. Well, I had that, but you know, just didn't know whether I had that size.
Did you have to
scope.
try to put weight on for it?
Yeah, I
You
put
did?
on about
Okay.
25 pounds
Oh, wow.
of a lot of beer and pizza. Wasn't the worst part of the job. Yeah.
Did they let you keep the bathrobe?
Oh, I said, it's my doormat. You know, it's my doormat, right?
I wanted to talk a little bit about the Bob Dylan song that was recorded for this film. That won an Academy Award.
That won the Academy Award. That was the only thing that was nominated. And
Oh, that's I wasn't aware of that. That
yeah, I
seems
think
like
so. I mean, I may be wrong, but I think that was the only nomination that we got. Curtis Hanson, our director, you know, was very enthralled with the music, and there's some wonderful music choices throughout, using you know basic core, whether it's Neil Young's Old Man and some of the other pieces, and was a big Bob Dylan fan, and was able to show Bob about 60 minutes of cut footage, and he thought about it and went away, and then lo and behold, he came back with this song, and it was great. And I remember when he had the Academy Awards that year, and he was on tour in Australia, and they cut to him live in Australia, whatever godly hour it was, even with the awards, it was a day ahead, and he sang live, Things Are Strange, and it was such a wonderful, memorable
And
moment.
what skin got assassin's eyes? I'm staring up into the sapphire-tinted sky. I'm well dressed, waiting on the last train.
it's really cool, and it's a perfect song for this.
I got a great Bob Dylan. Maybe
Yeah,
I
please,
told it
yeah.
on Colbert the other night, but it is pretty cool. So the year of the Golden Globes, I think it was the Wall Street year. I was out and getting ready to go over to the award ceremony, and I leave the hotel, and George Harrison is sitting in the lobby, man, and I go, Jesus. So I go over and introduce myself. Hey, how you doing? I'm on with these awards, a big fan of yours, and this guy on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or whatever. And I go to the awards. I win, and I take my mother to the awards. I win, and I go backstage, and I do the whole press tour and everything else, and I come out of the press tour, and everybody's gone home. Everybody's kind of gone home. So I take my mom home, and I go back to the hotel, kind of feeling sorry for myself, my little trophy and all this. And about midnight, my phone rings. I said, yeah, hello, Michael? I said, yeah, this is George. I said, George Harrison. George, yeah, just met him, you know. George, yeah. He said, well, me and my mate here, you know, thought we'd come by and say hello. I said, yeah, sure, yeah, come on by, yeah. So about 5 minutes later, knocking the door, I open the door, it's George Harrison and Bob Dylan. And Bob Dylan has got the biggest dog I have ever seen in my life. This dog was half the size of a horse. It was huge. So they come on in, and, hey, come on in. Bob Dylan sits down. He doesn't say a word. He just kind of sits there, doesn't say a word. I'm kind of talking to George, and this dog keeps walking back, and you literally have to look over the top of the dog. He's up to here or something, you know? And I ordered a whole bunch of caviar. You know, I was celebrating, told him I won. I've got a whole bunch of caviar came in, and we're talking, George. Bob Dylan still hasn't said a word. And so finally, we're talking, and all of a sudden the dog goes, the dog smells the caviar. He goes on over, $150 a lick. This guy, he's doing this, and I'm going ready. I'm ready. You know, I said, well, it's Bob Dylan's dog, man. What am I gonna do? It's Bob. And I keep waiting for him to do something. You know, he doesn't. Even, so finally, I see a flicker, and Bob Dylan looks and he leans forward. And he goes, far out. He loves caviar. That was it. He said.
We're now going to throw to you folks. Yes, here in the front.
Two things really quick. Streets of San Francisco, loved it. Can you talk a little bit about that and Carl Malden? And how's your dad?
Thank you. Yeah. Streets of San Francisco was a major important part of my life. Carl Malden was my mentor. I did 104 hours of that show with a prologue, 3 acts, epilogue. I learned everything about structure. I learned everything about production because it's basically a 52-minute movie. We shoot it on location in San Francisco. So we would work 6 days a week, 8.5 months straight. And Carl, he just, I understand why he was a supporting actor for so many great. Marlon Brando loved him and everything, and he just brought me up there. Back in those days, in those police shows, if you were the second banana or second lead, you were about 1.5 foot back in soft focus. The lens couldn't hold, Carl would be sharp and I would be slightly soft back there. He was the first guy to say, come on, buddy, come on up here in front. So I owe him everything. He was a lovely, lovely man. Also, because of our work level, my work ethic, my tenacity and stamina through working with him carried me for the rest of my career. So I was the worst actor or producer you wanted to work with because I'd had that experience. So I wasn't listening to anybody complaining about how hard they were working, So it was a great experience. And coincidentally, although it wasn't Carl Malden when he was starting out, his name was Mladen Sekulovic. And he was in summer theater one summer with a guy named Isio Danielovich. And so Isio Danielovich became Kirk, and Mladen Sekulovic became Carl, My dad, I just saw Thanksgiving. I took my kids out. We live back east, took my kids out to California to see him. He's going to be 102 on December 9th. Thank you. He's discovered FaceTime, which is really scary, because he discovered FaceTime, but he's sort of forgotten about the 3-hour time change between West Coast and East Coast. And we're kind of early to bed kind of guys, so come 10 o'clock, we're ready to call, but he's just ready. But he loves it, and he says, where are you? And here Dad says, let me see. He loves, you can kind of show him where everything is, and he's doing very well. I'm very proud of him.
Thank you.
Hi, Kominsky Method has been a blast. Any more episodes planned?
Funny you should ask that. Well, first of all, thank you so much. It's only been out for a week. And on Netflix, you can get, there's 8 episodes. And the way it works is I am sitting right now waiting to find out whether we're going to be picked up. Netflix, sort of sets this like November 16th is your opening date. It's almost like the opening of a movie. So then judged on how many people have wanted to see it, and the word back is we've gotten a great response. Now they wait for the second week to see if it's going to be up. Everybody tells us it's going to, so hopefully I'll know this next week. And if we did, we would have to start end of January on a new season. But if you get a chance, it's pretty cool. Chuck Lorre is a great writer, has written it, and Alan Arkin, fabulous actor. And I signed on anytime you can do a series about getting old that's funny. It's my kind of show.
And it is very funny. I watched the first 3 episodes. You and Alan Arkin are fantastic.
Thank you.
It's very funny.
Hi, Michael. Thank you. I wanted to say I have no input on why Wonder Boys didn't do better. I think it's terrific. I thought it was terrific when I saw it in the theater. But I had an acting question for you. Just watching your scenes with Frances McDormand and Robert Downey Jr., and then thinking about your terrific scenes with Alan Arkin and the Kominsky Method, you act with them as if you've known them your whole life, which is what your character does. And they're such great actors that you're on the scene with. I'm just wondering what it's like, if you could talk about what other actors do to bring your game to the scene.
That's a great question. Again, I think this is where the producing part of my career has been helping me so much as an actor. And by that, a lot of the pictures that I have done, I'm sort of the lead. You know, I'm in mostly every single scene. So it's my responsibility to make my fellow actors or people that are coming in as comfortable as possible. Acting is not naturally a comfortable environment. You got lots of lights on you, people standing around, these X-ray machines looking at you. It's a struggle and an effort to be comfortable. So I think the best, you know, my belief is to first of all be with the best actors you can be, and then try to create as comfortable an environment. Because if they are good, you're gonna be good. Now, I know some people have insecurities, they tend to shy away from that or talk about upstaging and all of that. But my history and my understanding of this allows me to believe that you just want to create an environment to create the best environment for everybody to be as good as they can. So for instance, with my leading ladies, and I've had a fair amount of leading ladies over the years, and people always get in like sex scenes and all of that kind of stuff. You really work at making them, the lady, as comfortable as possible in a situation. This is digressing off your question, but I know nobody here is really interested in sex scenes. So I won't really. But they are like fight scenes. They're choreographed, or they should be. And like in a fight scene, you start off very slowly. Okay, I'm gonna throw this punch here, you duck, and then I go to your stomach and you go down. Sex scenes are some of the same way. Okay, I'm gonna hold you behind here, kiss, kiss, pull away. I'm gonna touch your breast here. And so you know exactly, there's a comfort factor which frees the other actor up to know, what are you doing? You know exactly what you're doing. So you start off doing this all very slowly, like this, okay, here, kiss, kiss, grab, boom, down, until you go up to like a dance move, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and you get up to speed. I always remember Jean Triplehorn, an actress in Basic Instinct, who played the psychiatrist, and she said, I'll never forget reading the call sheet, and it read, 12 pairs of rip-away panties. And she said, oh, okay. All right. So begin. But I think it's a comfort factor. Regarding Kominsky Method, I was with Alan Arkin, who I admire so much, and I never knew him before. And we had an early scene, which is in the Musso Frank's bar. We were sitting each other, and it was like the second day of shooting. And I went and looked afterwards the dailies, and we're supposed to play two people that have been friends for 40 plus years. And I watched it, I said, wow, I believe these guys are friends for 40 years. So it's the joy that you get when you have another good actor, and you're dancing together. Great.
I've loved the Wonder Boys since I saw it when it first came out, and it seems like such a tight ensemble cast. Had you known the actors before? Did you have any role in identifying who would play the different characters, and have you worked with them since?
A great question. Curtis Hanson. Curtis is a Southern California surfer boy who has a great kind of hippie vibe. Unfortunately, we lost him in a tragic sort of ending. He was directing Maverick, and Alzheimer's came over him, and they basically had to come off the picture, and eventually passed away. But he has a wonderful, dry sense of humor, and really loves actors. There's some directors that don't. He loves actors. So I was on first, and then they gave the script to Curtis, and we talked about it, and it was real easy, and so we said, let's go. And then it's one of the best casts I can imagine I've ever been associated with. I mean, all the way down the line. Robert was a wonderful choice. Was very dangerous. He was on probation earlier, and had on some drug issues, and really wanted to do the part. And he came with a minder, somebody with him, and he did a wonderful job. Unfortunately, you know, right at the end of the picture, and then after the picture was over, he kind of lost it and had to go to jail for a while. And I've gotten to catch up with Robert now on these Marvel comic pictures. I've been doing Ant-Man, and there's some overlap in some of the other, with the Avenger pictures. Frances, I see from time to time. Again, Frances McDormand, just a fabulous, wonderful actress. I can't say Richard Thomas was great. Katie was, you know, just a little, who knew what was in store for her? What an 18-year ride she's had, man. Yeah. I said, you know, I just knew she's a sweet little girl from I don't know, in Indiana or somewhere in the Midwest in the picture. So I've seen them around town, and it's a great memory that we have together, but I haven't worked with them since.
As a comic book geek, and watching this film again this week, I did take note of the fact that it is Iron Man, Spider-Man, and the original Ant-Man.
Toby, I forgot Toby. Yeah.
We've got time for one more. Yes, the person who just jumped to their feet back there.
I really loved the movie. I've never seen it before, though I'm a huge fan. I have two questions, if you have time to answer both. My first question is, you were a producer of one of my favorite films, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and I often wondered why, I could probably have found this on the web or something, but why you never chose to take the part that Jack Nicholson played, although he was perfection. And my second question is, which of your characters that you've played do you identify with the most?
Ooh, that's it. Boy, is that a dangerous second question? I don't know. First one, I was 29 years old when I produced Cuckoo's Nest. And the biggest difficulty was this was a project which I inherited from my father, Kirk, actually, who desperately wanted to play the role and was too old by the time we finally had come around. I had flirted with the idea of doing the part of Billy Bibbit that Brad Dourif did. I kept thinking, but then Brad came in and he auditioned, and that was the end of Mikey thinking about that role. He was so good. I would hesitate to say, you know, the only weird thing about my career, which was not planned, but all my films are contemporary, except for one World War II picture, but I got like 50 films that were just contemporary characters, you know? And so obviously I've been interested in this gray area. I've tried to figure it out. I think maybe it has something to do with coming out of the 60s in college, the Vietnam War. There were no more good guys and bad guys. Everything was much more in kind of a mishmash way. So I've always just been attracted to these convoluted characters who have a degree of larceny in them, but you try to do the right thing, you know? So I can't say if there was one more than the other, because you work as hard on all of them as you can.
Michael Douglas.
Thank you so much. Thank you.